Good morning. Monica Pitts here with May Create Design. And today I'm going to talk about how to figure out how fast your website is loading. Now, every year we do like physicals, so to speak, for our clients on their websites. It's a service that we offer them that's free. Some of them even have more than one a year. And the physical that we put the website through is a lot like the physical that you might go through with your doctor. And we review the components of the website to make sure that it's still healthy and working the way that it's supposed to work. So we look at the aesthetics, the content, the infrastructure, and the data. And as I was recording a podcast about how to do this, I got into the infrastructure portion, which is how it's built, which impacts your load time. And I started talking about how to run a report to make it to understand how it's loading and make it load faster. And I realized that the audio was just not going to serve it, right? It needed to have a video component so people actually knew what in the world I was talking about. So I'm going to show you how to use my friend GTmetrix to understand if your website is loading slowly or not. Now, the first thing that you'll probably want to do is sign up for a free account. The reason that you want to sign up for a free account is because you want to test your website from a location that's as close to you as possible. So right now, if I use the free account, I would be testing from Vancouver, Canada. Well, I'm in Missouri, and so I want something closer to me, and I can get Dallas, or there's one other place too. I want to say maybe Los Angeles. I don't know. With the free account, right? And with the free account, it'll save all of your reports for you. All right. So then you just enter in your domain name, and you would click test your site. Now, I've already ran a couple tests, so you don't have to sit and watch it, but I wanted to show you how they turn out. So here is a test for one of my clients that their website has been optimized. And I'm going to show you a test for a website or two websites that have not been optimized as well. So you want this page speed score to be, a B or an A. The average is 74%. I feel like it should be better than that. I'm an overachiever, right? I got 4.0s in college for a reason, because I'm an overachiever. So you want this to be high, so B or A. Your YSlow score, you want this to also be, you could probably have a C or a B in this one. Tendency is for this one to be a little bit lower at times because it has a little bit more technicality in implementing some of these things. So your fully loaded page time, you want it to be below 8.3 seconds. Really, I like it to be below 6 seconds. Your total page size, this one's a little big. We want it to be smaller. We want it to be 3.15 megs or smaller. And I will explain to you why this is so big in a second. And then the page requests, it says that the average is 89. I think that you should have closer to 60. Now, what these numbers mean, this is how fast your website loads in comparison to the other websites that run this test on this website. This is how, it's a little bit different. It's about how the content is delivered. So the delivery of the content from the server. This over here, this talks about how long it took for the website to load. This is how big the stuff on the website is, like all the components put together. So the HTML, the images, all that stuff put together. And this is how many times the server has to reach out to your code to deliver the finished website on a browser. So the smaller that these things are, the better you are. All right, so let me make this a little bit bigger so that way we can dig into some of these details here. So over on page speed, you can see here that I have a C on leverage browser caching. Well, if you have a C on leverage browser caching, I want you to click on it and look at it. If here it does not show your domain name, so this domain name is fredweberinc.com. If none of these have your domain name in it, then there's probably nothing that you can do. You already have your browser caching leveraged. Then the next thing that you would look at is serve scaled images. So right now there is one image that needs to be reduced, and it is their logo. So you can click on these and you can look at the picture And see how huge that is? So that needs to be way smaller in order to optimize the site. Then the site will load faster if it's smaller. And it'll give you a whole list of the images that you need to reduce. This is something right here that's actually really easy for you to do. And what happens oftentimes is you're uploading the images using your content management system, and your content management system does not have an auto resizer in it. So this is super easy to do. You just make it the size that it's supposed to be. It will even tell you right here, this is the size that it's supposed to be, and then it will save me 1/4 of a meg, which is awesome, and we totally want to do that. Okay, so everything else on here is doing great. Then we can look at the YSlow score here. So a lot of websites don't use a content delivery network, but if we did, we would get a better grade on it. What a content delivery network is it's another place that houses your website outside of the server that holds a completely cached version of your website, all put together, all compiled, ready to just spit out and give to people whenever they need it. So that's what you can do that. And it's fine and it's great. We use it on Make Create. We don't have it on all of our clients' websites. That's why they have an F, because they're not using it. Expires headers, once again, see, notice how that none of these are their domain name. So we don't need to worry about these. We have no control over Google. And then here, these are also not using their domain name. There is one. Yep, right here. So I could look at that and I could see how could I condense those together. All right, so when you're running this report, I want you to run a report on your home page, and I also want you to run a report on your secondary page. And then after you run the report initially, I want you to run it again. That way you can make sure that you can see the initial report. The initial report is going to show you what your website would be if no one had been to it before. And then the second time that you run the report, it's going to show you what it would be if the website is cached. So it should load faster the second time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it should load faster the second time. The reason that I want you to load it both for your home page and for a secondary page, like I've done here, is because a lot of the times our home page has a video on it or a bunch of like a slideshow on it, and that will cause it to load slower. It might have a bunch of extra components on it, like pulling in featured posts and that kind of thing. It's going to cause it to load slower. So I want you to look at the home page and see how that one behaves. And then I want you to look at your secondary pages without all that extra stuff and see how much faster and how much smaller it is, right? Definitely smaller and faster. Okay, because we want to look at both aspects. So now let's go ahead and let's look at a page that hasn't been optimized as heavily. So this website here is a very simple website. That's why it's such a small page size. It still has quite a few requests. I feel like for such a small page size, it should definitely have less requests than this, but it loads in a fine amount of time. Now, one of the things that they're not doing is they're not leveraging browser caching. And I explained that a little bit earlier with the CDN. What that is that it holds a already made and already compiled version of your website for people to load more quickly. I know that they're not leveraging browser caching because I see their domain name in every single one of these instances. So we definitely want to leverage browser caching. The only one that they cannot control is Google Tag Manager. That just is what it is, right? And if they did that, then it would definitely raise their score and it would make everything load a heck of a lot faster. But everything else looks pretty good here, huh? And then over here, there's, a number of things that would also be fixed really quickly by just installing a plugin to speed stuff up. But this is a simple site, and that's why it can get away with not doing those things, because it loads quickly. So here's another website that I ran the test on, and this one does not have as high a score. It is leveraging browser caching though. See how it does not have the domain name in any of these right here. That means that it's doing what it's supposed to do. Now, it does not defer parsing of JavaScript. Now, sometimes you just can't do this. Sometimes it will break your entire site if you decide to defer the parsing of JavaScript, but it is something to consider that can speed up the website. The one thing it is upset about is that it does not have all the images optimized. So there's lots of big images on this site that could be reduced and optimized to save on load time. So this particular website could save like 5 megs, which, I mean, that's a lot. That's like basically all of this, right? If it were to be optimized. And so what that means is you would pull these images into an image optimizer and you would smoosh them. For lack of a better way to explain it, I'm not going to explain to you how to do that right now, but you can also install a plugin that will work on compressing things for you as well. But obviously, sometimes when you do it by hand, it works a little bit better. So yeah, and the other thing that is surprising about this website is exactly how many requests it has. It has a lot of requests, and that I'm not sure why it is. I didn't build this site, so I couldn't tell you why that is, but it seems like this is a lot and it could be minimized in a variety of ways. All right, so last site to look at so that you can take with you these thoughts. So this one has, once again, it has serve scaled images. So remember the last ones that optimize images, this one says serve scaled images. So the last one, the images were the proper size, they just weren't compressed. On this one, the images are not sized appropriately. So it could save a lot of time if they went through and resized these images to the suggested sizing, just like we looked at with the first website example and their logo. Okay, so then also defer parsing of JavaScript. Obviously, sometimes you can do this, sometimes you can't. You're going to do it through a plugin. WP Rocket is what we use. Leveraging browser caching, there's nothing that they can do here. These are not part of their website. And then minimizing redirects. Yeah, so they can't do anything with this either because these are not part of their website. So if they were going to go through and make their website load faster, they would compress their images and they would resize their images to be the proper sizes. Now, most of the time, friends, the reason things aren't loading as fast is because the images are not properly treated. Okay, so with that, hopefully I've given you a little bit more background on how to understand if your website is loading quickly or not. You can use my friend GTmetrix. Go on over there and create a free account. I am not affiliated with these friends. I just think they're amazing. And the reason that you would create a free account, once again, is that way you can test with a location that is as close to you as humanly possible. And then you're going to run the test on both your homepage and a secondary page. So a page with lots of moving parts on it and a page that's simpler. And you're going to run the test twice. So that way you can see what it's like for a new visitor and for a returning visitor. And then you can start looking through the report and understanding what it's telling you so that you can make your website load faster, or so that way you can contact your web developer and have them help you get your website to load faster. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time this morning.